This is what, 15 feet by 14. So and that's why we're ready to. They really don't need it, but they haven't taken it to the water work. We want to transfer it to a couple of them, but they just want us, like, what's our needs. Way out of state.
She won't. More like that. Should be good to go.
Okay, I got you right there. Take down.
Yeah.
Well, this way. But that's why we want to accept the word with him and I had just got the letter from Jason, like, even Mark right away, and he didn't know anything about it, so. But it's gotta go through the state, and then I think finally, I wonder if NRCS or even the. Horns, because that's a wetland, I don't know how you can.
Oh, yeah.
But we want to stop it.
I pushed them all, so. We pushed them all. No, I didn't. Yeah. Oh, always.
I mean, the eyes are on and
We're not hooting yet?
it did hoot when we restarted the computer.
What's this thing for? Do we know?
Oh, I pushed it, but I didn't push it, it's just. That's all, and it does the power.
It's a blue light.
Yeah, does that do anything?
Yeah, just leave that.
She can see us, but just.
Who's that from the?
Yeah, people are watching the live.
Can they hear us?
No. No.
And she never has been able to hear, right?
No.
I think this has so much. Yeah. I don't know, even if they don't.
I have a feeling the computer maybe needs an update, like you said. I'm wondering if.
Because you use a computer, I mean, just a laptop along with when you guys do it, right?
Yeah,
For
that's a
the
help
meetings
for
and
it
stuff.
and stuff, and it's usually my Grand Forks guys up here that way, and.
We don't have any trouble with Alberta. Looks on, it's clear.
But
I can hear you too, just as long as only one talks at a time.
Oh, well, that's how all works though.
I can hear you. Or can hear you. Okay, so you can hear,
If she can hear something, it's better than.
well, yeah, talk, Amy.
If she can hear something, oh, so it was that button, it needs to be blue, not green.
Well, we weren't fully connected here yet either though, like on the live stream part.
Yeah, I mean, Karen made a good point too, like probably quartered it. out.
Okay.
We just made sure all of this is working.
She can hear all of us. What, do you remember what you pressed?
Many buttons.
Yeah, but that's the only thing that's different, I think.
I never seen that blue, I never seen that blue.
It just needs to be colors. Yeah, fine. All right, I'm gonna get over the green. I got your exercise for the day.
That's right.
Thanks, Alan.
Well, let's get
Okay.
going here with Jason. Morning.
Morning.
One of the first things we're gonna start out with is, I guess we'll start with the invitation to bid for stripping and waxing. This is the second floor up in, with the state's attorney, the courtroom and all that. We got one bid from our public. So looking for a motion to accept the bid for the Meester cleaning services for $6,600 and stripping and waxing the floors upstairs. In comparison with the same prices we've had in the last couple of years.
Make a motion to accept the bid to wax the floor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Are they gonna do this like overnight or they'll do it during the days? We'll work at, by getting in now, we'll work into the schedules, but of course, we're not interfering with anything. But yep. Yeah. Call for the vote, Karen,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Ernie.
Yeah.
Christie.
Yeah.
That's all, yes, motion carried. Thank you. The next one we have is, something that's come to our attention in regards to future bridge projects. It's not on your agenda, we want to ask Wade to come in for, what we're with the crunch for concrete box culverts is being brought to our attention that if we put in an alternative, like an aluminum. A box culvert, that. If the aluminum comes in much cheaper, we're going to be. Forced due to the bids from the DOT to accept the aluminum box culverts. Which would be fine, but if we wanted the concrete, because the concrete can still make it in, then we will be on the hook. For that cost difference between the aluminum and the concrete, right?
Yep. Yeah, so you're required to take the low bid, when you bid the options. So like going that we're bidding in June, that funding was capped. So that, I mean, either way, we'll be over that cap, so there'll be some out of the, company's pocket anyway, but some of these moving forward. The off-system ones are 100% covered by DOT. And so we get options on those. And the aluminum one is cheaper, but not enough to, not low enough to get the benefit of it, you know, the potentially shorter lifespan, that type of stuff. And you decide you want to do the concrete, you'd be on the hook for the difference between it. So just, you know, when we're working on designing the one by, the Thorson house there. We have a concrete one already done, before we started putting a aluminum option in there. I wanted to run it by you guys. You know, that one is one of the ones that's 100% covered. So there's the, you know, if it ends up where you don't want to do the aluminum one, you might end up having to pay more if you bid those options. So the benefits of the aluminum still are that you could likely get it in there quicker. You know, I don't know if they're starting to catch up. I've heard that they're starting to ramp up some of their concrete stuff, so it might not be as backlogged, but there's gonna be a lot of projects that are bid out there, so it will go back, but.
Mr. Chairman, how far is the backlog?
Depends on which contractor you're talking to. One of them says they're 9 months, one of them says they're over a year.
So what's the price difference on something like, and that's a ball, I know it's gonna vary every one, but is it gonna be extremely expensive to the county?
So that we'll know more after June. This, the one that we're bidding in June will be the first one that's been done through DOT. You know, we've gotten quotes on the prices, and the prices it's like half price for the materials. We just don't know what the contractors are going to charge to install them. It's different type of installation compared to the concrete ones. So that's the unknown right now. So we can just put it on hold until we see prices in June, and you know, I don't need a necessarily motion or anything. I just want to have a conversation with you guys to make sure that as we're going through the process that everything's out there, so.
So besides being a yearly, you know, years, because aluminum won't last as much probably as cement. Why would we have to rebid it and everything else change our mind and go from aluminum to cement? I can't see it, at least me thinking, why that would we do that and put a lot of cost in the county? If we approved it as aluminum already.
Right, we wouldn't have to rebid. The thing would be is if we decided we wanted that extra lifespan,
Yeah,
that if there's $100,000 difference between the aluminum and the concrete, that we have to pay the $100,000.
but my point is that we okayed it originally and we're okay with the less lifespan and it's a lot cheaper. Why would we change our mind for $100,000 or whatever it's gonna be?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, that's really what it comes down to is how much cheaper does it need to be in order to be okay with it?
Right.
And, you know, I guess if it comes in pretty comparable and it's a small cost to go up to concrete, it's probably not a big deal, but just with these funds being 100% covered, wanted to, you know, make sure that we're on the right path, so.
Installation cost, do we need a crane to come in for these aluminum?
No,
No.
some of the smaller ones, they show installation videos where they're doing it with just manpower. So some of the contractors talked to like DOTs in Montana or South Dakota, they have done some of these already. And the smaller ones, they'll actually get the material over the winter. The guys will install or put them together essentially in the shop in the winter and haul them out on a flatbed and set them with the excavator. So there's a lot of different options and ways they can put these together versus needing a crane for the concrete ones, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
do we know what the lifespan difference is between the aluminum and the concrete?
I've done quite a bit of research on it and there's nothing out there definitively because there's not any aluminum ones that have been in the ground for 75 years. But they do simulations where they try, you know, speed up the corrosion process and they expect them to last over 75 years. So, I mean, that's typically what we anticipate for like our bridges or concrete boxes. We assume 75-year lifespan. I've done inspections on concrete boxes that are 110 years old and they're still in pretty good shape. So it kind of depends on a lot of different situations, but they expect the aluminum ones to have 75 plus. So,
Mr. Chairman, so, do we just maybe table and then you come back to us when
Yep.
you have that information come June and
yeah, that's fine.
make a decision then?
Yep.
Never do that.
Perfect.
I'm sure the price will come down.
Yeah. The next one on the agenda, actual on the agenda is, information on dike and drains and just some things that we're noticing more this year than last year. With the flooding that we've had, there's issues with a lot of people that were out with excavators in ditches, cleaning things out, where the destination for the water to go is cleaned. It's becoming more and more of a problem with the more people that have excavators and equipment to go and do this. We're talking with the water board over the last few weeks, it's becoming more and more of an issue. One of the things I'm looking at right now is the fact that we have roads out there where the ditch height is higher than our road. I haven't found anything in the Century Code, but I've asked DOT for guidance on that, even if it is on private land, to see if there's anything we can do to drop that, so our township roads and our county roads aren't getting flooded for the sake of a field. I know it's not popular with the farms, but at the same point in time, as our infrastructure to get their crops and their things to market and get to the fields, they're being damaged. So we need to take a look at this and see what we can do. The other one is a letter that I'll be writing, against a proposed drain from the highway department, where they've been asked us to comment on it. I don't agree with the drain that's coming out, and is in association with what Ernie was talking with earlier in the water board, with all of us are in agreement that it shouldn't happen.
This is a water board drain?
No, it's not a water board drain, it's a private drain.
When we discussed.
Yeah.
I'll probably sit down with you and talk it over, because I don't know if talking to the water board this morning, because the township has different interests or concerns, and you'll have something, and then us as a county will probably cover all of that.
Yeah.
We'll wanna write it sort of so they're not all the same, basically.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'll get together with you, Jason, on that.
Okay,
And then that's the one I was talking about, I'll have you guys sign it.
So we have no control at all over these field dikes, so to speak.
as long as it's in private property, we have understood, we have no control over it. That, I'm trying to reach out to the state DOT and see if there's anything that we can do. Because it shouldn't be the fact where the field dike or that field ditch fills up with water, and the water pushes over the road into the ditch on the other side and into it. The water should be equal for everybody between both farm sides.
Go down number 15, and if you look at our right-of-way signs that are in those ditches, every one of them are below the height of the ditch, and that height is on their property. And that's why it was put that way.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, Mr. Chairman, so it's where there's the highway, there's the ditch, and then here's a higher
Mhm.
thing there, like
And it's on their land.
like on the
Farmer's
south
land.
side.
Yep.
But I drove around some of this, that when it was happening, and, I mean, there's no way that our infrastructure will handle that water when it's channeled right into the ditches by these field dikes.
Right.
And it's going down onto these residential areas and just inundating them.
Well, and I got a lot of phone calls during the flooding, and there's people that were gonna get flooded or whatever, and I tried stressing to them, I said, it's on their private property and we have no rights, no control or township, and I said, farmers are getting more efficient, they're cleaning more, and they're making bigger ditches, and in the same breath, we're taking out shelter belts. So all that snow comes in these ditches, it goes in the coulees, it goes in the rivers, and what happens? They're full and the water goes like this. And how do we control it? I mean, we can't control them not tearing out their trees, we can't control it if the dirt's on their right of way. So you out in the country, if you live in a farmyard, you better be ready to up it up and take care of Joe Blow myself, because nobody else is looking for you. And it's only gonna get worse, cause farmers are more efficient and, yeah, so I don't know if you guys got calls, but you gotta stress to these people that, you know what? It might take a ring dike or something else, but you gotta take care of yourself.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is, it's sad to say, but, you know,
Well, I mean, driving out, like heading west, even towards Vestaville, it just makes me sick to see the amount of trees that are gone. I
Well,
mean, even for the last 10 years, and I don't, you know, other state initiatives or I understand it's private property, but the whole premise of like, we don't need trees. I just can't understand, like, and I understand that many shelter belts are aging and they
Yeah,
need to be
they're-
replaced, but
Yeah.
there hasn't been this like proactive work to replace, that has to be done, you know, continuously almost. And my other concern is, and this is, you know, something I have heard a little bit on is, you know, townships, like some residents are hearing, well, there's nothing we can do, it's onto the township. And then, you know, if the township is making decisions that are above there, you know, it's kind of a little bit of this, where's the pecking order to a degree, but then, you know, for us to not have a say, I think there has to be somewhere for people to go if things aren't being done, you know, the right way, with everyone's aware and the documentation's being done.
I think on the township level, and I get a lot of calls from townships and everything, and I said, you know, always say, you know, it's township's choice, that board and everything else, and I said, well, if you don't like it, either you get on the board or you go to a meeting. We just had a meeting about a bridge and nobody showed up, and now there's concerns about the bridge. How much can we feed the public? If you're concerned, you've got to take care of yourself and look in the paper or look online and see when there's meetings. Cause half of them don't come, and then all of a sudden it's our fault because we did something when they weren't at the meeting. Well, how do we feed it? It's on the internet, it's in the paper, it's everything. You've got to, this younger generation, you gotta take care of yourself.
To address the tree situation, I think we all know that the soil conservation has tried their hardest to get people to plant trees, but I don't know, does it boil down to big equipment?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's too bad that we have that going on, because it all affects how everything drains, how everything blows. So, but we can't make people plant trees, no matter what, we can talk till we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Well, even farming practices, you know, if they're black and they don't put cover crop, it all affects our ditches. And
Yeah,
you can go in I did a lot of watching this year driving. You remember where Shelter Belt was? And there was never hardly snow on a road half a mile away. Now you drive there, that Shelter Belt's gone. And I'll take my place for an example. I've had a quarter mile stretch, there never used to be hardly any snow there. In the last 5 years, it's just been drifts in and it's deep for a whole quarter mile. What do you do?
I do give the farmers credit, I'm not here to bash who's doing what to their soil, but I do give some farmers credit around my place, they've stopped, you know, making everything black, they'll leave some stubble and some beet residue, so it does make a difference, because with all this wind and the heat now coming, it's gonna start blowing, and they can't always get into the field soon enough. And I've got some right around my area that comes right in, so.
I'm on the road a lot.
You're doing a great
It's in
job.
our farmers here.
Yeah.
Farming practices have changed and I'm
Yeah.
on, you know, I go all the way to Rolla and I'll tell you, it's,
Statewide.
But they're trying, you know, they're seeing what
yeah.
can be done.
But it's these field dikes that just, and that's what got me when I was driving, around, looking at these field dikes and they're just funneling that water, speeding it up. And it's,
They're funding it in.
yeah. But that's a water board issue, I imagine, there's nothing we can do about it.
But the water, yeah,
They can't do anything about it.
now that it's on the right way.
One thing I do have that is in our right of way, that with your permission, I would like to file a complaint on is one permit that they diked in through the waterway, along a river, through our right of way, the 75 feet, and that dike is the same height as our bridge deck. So the water cannot go towards the field, instead it goes to the town. So I would like to file a formal complaint against that dike with the commission's permission.
And it's in our right of way.
It's in our right of way.
They'd eventually have to take the dike down to the original, right?
Well, at least have to lower it, so it's not forcing water into the town.
And we're sure about the right of way.
Right of way is 75 feet and the dike is right up next to it. I've had Ryan come and go out and show me on it.
Yeah.
So.
It's in our right of way, I don't see any reason you couldn't.
If you wanna make an emotion to protect you, I'll make a motion, we look at that dike, I mean, it's in our right away. And further discussion on it.
With that, I will file the complaint with the water board.
I'll second it.
Second, yeah.
Any further discussion, anybody want to see the map on
I
this?
was just gonna say, shouldn't we be seeing a location or
Yeah.
some
Oh, I guess
information
I have-
about that?
I've been on it, so.
Yeah, it is right north of Forest River, on the north bridge of Forest River. So the second concrete bridge on the north side of Forest River, the top of that dike is the same height as our bridge. So none of the water can flow into the field to the north. Instead, it was flowing south and in towards Forest River and into the railroad tracks into the farmer's yard, instead of going into the field to the north.
So when did this dike get put there, do we know?
Don't know.
Was that part of the issue with what happened so quickly with them, or that was more just the water coming?
It's a combination.
Okay.
It didn't help,
It didn't help.
not one bit.
It didn't help.
You're aware of this? You got it?
Yeah, and we've had quite a few conflicts already.
Any further
It's eight
discussion?
tenths of a foot difference between the south, which goes towards Forest River, compared to what could go north into the fields.
So what would you like to see him do? Lower that dike down to
At least lower it so that it takes relief off,
the road height?
yeah, well, below the road height, so that we don't have, I don't want a washout next to the bridge either, because it's right beyond the corner of our abutment. But at the same point in time, I do not feel that that water should be flowing into towards Forest River and buildings instead of into the field to the north.
Wouldn't that go to the water board or whoever looks at it, they probably make them the same height?
Yeah, water board,
Yeah.
take a look at it, I'm sure.
So does that affect the west side of Forest River
Maybe
then?
the northwest side.
Northwest side.
So the formal complaint would just be to get them to lower the dike.
Yeah.
It's not monetary penalties, anything
Not
like that,
monetary,
we're just.
No,
We've had this issue on the Forest River a couple of years, well, maybe 5 or 6, I don't even know if you're a commissioner, and a couple of guys, farmers made the dike higher, and they were making it take it down and put it back to the original form. So they'll look at it, the water board, and, you know,
So I guess I just have one question then. Why doesn't this go through the water board? Why aren't they acting on it? Why are we
I have
acting
to
on it?
submit, I have to submit the complaint.
right,
Okay,
this will go to the water board from here.
I have to submit a complaint, or somebody has to submit the complaint to the water board so they can do an investigation and go from there. So it's just to start that process.
I guess I'm a little leery, I mean,
I'm kind of leery too, because I'm thinking, is this our normal process? I'm not against it,
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Somebody's got,
I'm just wondering, is this our normal process? Is this what we do when we're submitting a complaint to the water board? Does it always come to the commission first? We act on it, and then who's submitting the complaint? The commission, you as highway superintendent?
Use my name.
Yeah, well, that comes back to us.
Yeah,
see those other ones, and I'll just use them other ones I talked about as an example, the local constituents or people around there put the complaint in. Well, he's putting a complaint in because we're worried about our road and everything else is concerned, so it comes, the complaint will come from us. Go to the water board and then it'll work its way back through the channels, and that's the way they do it, somebody's got to complain first.
Why isn't the city of Forest River submitting a complaint? Because that's who it affected, correct? Why are the city officials not coming to us for submitting a complaint?
It's a hard question.
It's part of in our right of way, right?
this is
Yeah,
all right.
So, oh, I thought you said it was up to our right of
No,
way.
this
If
is-
that's
this is-
physically in our
This is
right of
in
way?
our 75 feet right away.
Okay,
So I'm not, anybody from the city wants to talk about anything else in that area, that would be up to them.
Yeah.
This would be inside our right of way.
okay,
Where we would have the jurisdictions for, nothing outside of that 75 feet. It'd just be inside that 75 feet of our right of way,
Right away.
and I don't
I
know,
mean, dikes aren't very, how wide is the dike?
about 20 feet,
And how much of it's in our right of way, would you say?
75 feet, so. It goes all the way up to the bridge and ties up into the
No.
edge of the bridge.
No, I'm talking width. So about 20 feet to
20
20.
feet by 75, so we have about 1,500 square feet in our right of way.
How far does it even go back more west? Where it is,
The dike keeps going as far as more.
see, but we can't do anything.
I don't go, we only can take a look at the surveys from inside
Right.
ours, after anything else after that, with us bringing the complaint to the water board, my understanding is they can, at that point, do open investigation into the rest of the dike. If there is any other concerns with it or not. I know that night when Forest River was flooding, when I drove in, you couldn't get through the road to the north, so I came back in around, or from the south, I came back in from the north and the field was dry. And the people in town were running pumps and sandbagging.
I know there's been previous complaints from Forest River, but I don't know if there's any currently now from this one yet.
Nobody from the area is willing to put it on paper, from my understanding,
Well,
politics.
because who did the dike?
I don't know, it's politics is all they tell me.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Yeah, Sharon did, didn't
I
she?
did, yeah.
Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote, Karen,
Yes,
Amy,
yes.
Christie. Well, past the discussion part, but no, I agree with you, but we're looking at that 75 feet
Yeah.
right over.
That's what I was gonna say, I'm voting yes because it's in the easement area,
Yeah.
but if it was not, I do not feel that that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not in our, if it's not in our easement, I have no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yes,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I just think this is a way of letting the public know that, you can't just go out there and do what you want, because it affects somebody. So, I mean, if it wasn't our jurisdiction, I wouldn't be voted on it either. I mean, we can't do anything about the field dikes either,
I
so.
had a complaint about one road that was cut, the same, one guy's farm said, but.
flooded another, so.
Well, another one.
That's where I think the township's got a bucket or something, I don't know.
Well, I think we have other issues in the county and our easement areas that we need to deal with as well, so it's like we can't pick and choose.
No.
So the easement, we have to address them, so. Well, I know the state of Minnesota actually has a law that states that no dike, field or whatever can be higher than the road. But I do not know if that's in the state, the same as in. So that's why I've asked you and Brian Dukes for information.
Mhm.
Be interesting, it causes a lot of damage when they're higher than the roads. We saw it.
So, but I know there's a couple of townships that have talked to me about, addressing people working in the right of ways of their roads and what they can do, but putting in their bylaws that you have to have permission to be in the township.
No,
Or
yeah.
doing everything else, which they already have the rights to via century code anyways. They have the control, townships have the control over their right of ways. We can't tell the townships what to do.
Karen's thinking about baking, aren't you?
Oh, well, yeah, because the river in my yard, yeah, how did you read my mind? I mean, I'm like, I was glad
It's an easy read.
It's not much in there that needs to be read at a time.
Did you say she had a small?
I mean, I was chomping at the bit to come home that weekend because I
Yeah.
Yeah,
didn't know because I didn't get it done and I have to do it. And I do need a permit to fix that, right?
No.
well, you're on the.
South branch.
Right there,
Yeah, it's the south branch of the,
I know,
and I need riprap, I need rock. Otherwise even if I get something with clay or whatever, it could still wash it out again, but.
Now you bring that up, dikes and dams or whatever, just the water board we were talking about the other day. There is, I think, to NRCS again, there's some grants up to, I think, 55,000, but the only thing is you gotta use certain amount of materials. And they're a little thicker, they might cost you more.
I have
Yeah,
I have looked into that.
so the
and I
public
don't
knows.
think
Yeah.
I can't afford to do
Well,
that.
it's to each case, you know, a small one, you could probably do it, and a big one, so there is money available out there if it fits your
Yep.
needs.
I
Yeah.
remember talking about it, and maybe it's different now, but
Yeah, look into it, cause they said it just started another one again, so
yeah.
who knows if they switch their
I've
requirements.
gotta fix it because you can't even be gone anywhere, cause you don't know.
Yeah,
You know, the river came up again, we were talking about it, and it's fine, but. Yeah, all that all that ice that came through there, I thought maybe we'd even lose a bridge again. I mean, we did lose one, but my bridge, you know, that could be,
What did one person tell you? It's nice living right by the river for what, 7 months out of the year? It is.
50 out of 50.
well,
And it's
but,
good, yeah.
but here's the thing, it never used to be that way.
Well, because everybody's changing.
Yep,
That's-
and all, and what the water has done to the
Yeah.
river, I mean. Anybody who's been at my place knows that the river is deep and wide at my place.
And if there's a tree, like the snag and clearing helps, but if there's trees and stuff and that.
No trees, all my trees have been
Well,
gone.
I know, but it's
Yep.
downhill,
Yep.
or uphill, if it's there, all of a sudden it breaks loose or whatever.
I have trees just hanging there to be gone, 100-year-old trees.
Even ice jams, I was at a couple of places this year where, well, we were saving the ditch and we were trying to bust stuff. When you do that under that bridge or something, I says the flow of that water goes, ooh.
Yep,
Well, let's get back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discuss this,
right.
Yeah.
It's, I don't see it on agenda, but just Jason, are all the roads open now? I mean, from a flooding perspective, we still have.
19 is still
Thankfully.
under repairs. 19 still under repairs at Forest River. We're hoping to take a look at that one today, and get that back opened up. Number 6 north of Nash went back underwater, this
Back
weekend.
Underwater.
From the, Mr. Chairman, so did it come, is it coming then over again through the big diversion ditch?
No.
Or that,
It's on the north side, so it's where it typically goes underwater, 1.5 miles north of Nash, where it has a drop
oh,
down.
there, okay,
And it's up on its 3rd crest this spring, so went back, came that river, the north branch came up
North
over
branch,
3
okay.
feet. Over the weekend, so.
yeah, it came up through the river there, 3,
And
more
two-
than that.
2 is still underwater.
2 still underwater, the guys were going back out to check and see just how bad that was this morning, but that was still underwater. Number 4, south of Warsaw is still underwater. We'll get some spots that we fixed last year that are showing signs, Kensington at the Oak Ridge Bridge, where that whole north side washed out, a bunch of the material there settled on over from this last flood, so we'll be going back in there to do repairs again. They were on number 6 where it bypasses between the river on the north branch and Nash, working on repairing that yesterday. So we got that first mile open back up, but it's the 2 miles north of that, and we still have people driving their trucks right through them while they're out there working, so. Road closed signs and they're still driving through them.
Mr. Chairman, so Jason was. And I suppose this is a water board thing, was anything decided on the drainage ditch, who was
Which drainage ditch?
on north on 6, the big drainage? Because of it coming over
All
and,
the river?
compromised and,
The river, no, nothing's been done with that. That's the south branch of the Park River now, so,
yeah,
but. No, there's discussions with the water board, about it, but
yeah,
it's the south branch of the river, so. No one is actually sure when it was built, who built it or anything like
You're
that.
talking about the cementage?
no, the big drainage ditch,
Yeah, I call it the cementage.
Yeah.
Cement?
Well, like.
there's no cement.
No,
No, no,
The
so
one where they straighten the south branch of the.
Yeah.
I don't know.
that,
3 miles.
The farmers way back, how many years?
yep, they dug it out with horses.
And that's been an issue for the last.
Yeah, yes, the last 2 have been, I mean, it's really compromised, hasn't it, Jason? I mean, we know that.
Rutherford's have gone and spent a lot of money on the side, on their side.
Oh, on their side, yeah.
There used to be,
They're not gonna do it on the side.
No,
that's
no,
not
I
theirs.
understand that, but I'm just wondering.
once again, wasn't there trees on the north side that sort of helped it? And I think those trees got taken down.
Yes.
In the, yes.
I mean,
I
I drove that road for years and there was
Yeah.
always snow in it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Did the trees help? Yeah, but.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, well, let's move on. What's the next one?
Then open positions, I have one application that I'm gonna look to bring in for, interview for the full-time truck position. It's the only one I have as so far, but before he gets hired by somebody else, I want to bring him in, even if he has one, but it's the only request I have for it. So 2 open seasonals, for summer staff. And I have, I had one person apply to work with Mickey. And that person said they don't know how they phrase it. They already have another full-time job and they're not sure they can even make it here, so. But that would not could be really bringing them in when, in their cover letter, they say they're not gonna be very trustworthy to actually be here for time. Sorry, but I just, when you're that trust, put that out there, I
Not a
can't,
good sign when you're admitting it already.
right? So, so that's just that quick update. The next one I have is some budget items that are coming up, that we need to discuss. The biggest one is our fuel pumps. Sharon had it in the budget before I started to replace the actual fuel pumps that we have. Last year, the fuel pump in Grafton was down for over a month while we were waiting for parts for it. One was a pump, one was a gasket. The Park River one has been down as well. What we found out this last week from a gentleman is the program that we do all our billings on for who we're selling the fuel to. The motherboards and the computer component in that and cannot be replaced. They're old enough where it's on its last legs. So at some point in time in the near future, these things will fail. They don't know how long we have with it, but when they do, we want to have a reporting system for tracking who's getting what fuel. And it'll have to go back to a old-fashioned notebook tracking system for who got what fuel, and we're gonna have people missing it. I'm not writing stuff down, so we won't know who actually is getting the fuel. Have updated price and estimates for the heads. We didn't get one yet from the actual fuel pumps, but we're looking at about $130,000 to replace the 4 fuel pumps and the control heads for both Park River and Grafton. The new control heads will give us, with updated technology they have, a little bit more access to things and give the sheriff's department access to things where they can see and track some things a lot better than what we have now. So that's the good part. But the bad part is right now, they are backlogged. If our system died tomorrow, we can't even get parts until October. They have a backlog of their equipment coming in, just like everybody else has for even making the components. I would like to get on their list sooner than later, so that we don't have an issue where our computer dies and we don't have a way of tracking or billing our fuel systems. Because that's not a price I'm willing to eat.
Seems ridiculously high price.
Yeah.
How much did you say the total was?
About $150,000. The fuel pumps themselves are about $20,000 to $25,000 each.
Yeah.
Everything's gone up so much, it's unreal.
But did you say we're currently having problems with ours?
We've had problems
had
with
problems.
problems last year.
Oh.
Multiple times we were down for,
$40,000 repair, I remember.
yeah, no, the actual, in the package that I think I sent out, the pumps were $20,000, but that's just for one.
What scares me is we buy tanker loads and if these pumps go down and then we gotta go and buy it across the street. Give me a hell of a lot more money than we're paying now. He brought this up to me and I said, bring it to the commission. I said, what else is there? Everything's going to pot.
And it's not in my budget right now, but it's something that I feel like I could find the money for, just so we can get on the list to get these things done.
It'd be cheaper to contract with these other suppliers. I mean, do we have to have our own tank and our own pump?
I don't think we'll be able to get the fuel as cheap for as much fuel as we use between Grafton and.
Let's cut a deal with them. I mean, what'd you say, $150,000 over? That's a lot of margin for,
So you're saying sort of like the school bid it out to,
yeah.
I guess we can look at it.
I think we should check it out. Not saying we have to do it, but we should. maybe
Well,
check.
I mean, we're spending $150,000 on the pumps now, 5 years from now, will we do the same thing again?
Well, I would hope not, the fuel pumps.
Well, I do too, but I mean,
Yeah.
if we could kind of, who's the big supplier in town here? I mean, anybody.
Mr. Chairman, so would that mean that every time you put gas in a vehicle, You would go to that place and
Every
they
time
would
there's
keep
my
track.
motor grader, everyone would have to go to someplace
yeah.
like Schumacher's.
You have a motor grader going there to.
We'd have to have, well, that'd be the only choice, the motor grader, the tractors, the semis, the trucks, the snow plows would all have to go to Schumacher's or Subway or Simonson for diesel fuel. I guess, the Senex on the west side of town, for here, and Park River, you're basically looking at Northdale or,
Mhm.
and right now, Northdale fills our tanks in the winter, they're the only ones that bid our winter fuels. But getting into those places,
Well, North Star is no problem with that, I mean, they've got fuel line on there, that wouldn't be a
Yeah,
problem.
North Star, yeah.
I wonder what the cost savings.
West end of town.
I don't know if we'll get a cost savings, I can ask them what they would do for those, we can put it out for a bid on what their fuel prices are, just to see what it is. But right now, I know that it's like $1.20 a gallon difference between what we get on our tanks and what we pay at Senex or Lincoln. Or what we get around.
How many gallons are you using?
Just the winter, we went through 16,000 gallons of diesel fuel. Went through 2 tankers. So.
And that's just the winter.
That's just the winter.
Wouldn't take long to pay for this pump.
And you've got a liability issue here
Yeah.
with those tanks in town here and everything else. I think we should look at bidding this out.
It's an option. I don't like the liability of going downtown and
That's what I
shooting
don't like.
with our big equipment, that's when
You
you
look at Schumacher's over there, that
Well,
on it.
Or
that
going
needs
to
to
the
be
west
a-
end of town, Senex has
Well, that'd
semis
be-
in there almost
Yeah.
60% of the time.
check it out, I guess.
I mean, if they know that they're gonna be bidding on 20,000 gallons or whatever it is. They're more likely gonna cut you a deal on that.
We might, I don't know if we can. I don't know if it'll be as much of a savings, because we also gotta look at the time that they'll be over there instead of just right at homes.
What,
Because there's also the sheriff's department and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that do it and everybody else, so. If we're gonna go that route, I would almost feel like the sheriff's department should be bidding on their own fuel instead of what happens now, same with emergency services.
Mhm.
And anybody else that they need to go and work, if we're gonna bid it out, I feel like everybody else needs to work on their own bids, cause I don't want to be. Tracking where they are with their bids and those prices, that's a lot of extra work on our office that. Shouldn't be there.
Well, then wouldn't each person or each vehicle have to have a card to put it on? I mean, they don't let you just go into Senex, let's say Senex and say, hey, charge it and, right?
Or you just set up your own account.
I don't know
I don't see
whether
that.
they do that or
We have
not.
a card for when we have to leave the county.
Right, I know, but. you
So-
don't need more
The state
cards.
does in Adams.
How many- Now you give them a card now.
I know, that's what I'm
Just
thinking.
fill up my car on the weekend and I pick up the truck. How do you stop that?
Oh, I just.
Well, how do you stop it?
How do you stop it
Filling out
here?
the county, it's the same difference, I mean, if they're filling out the
Well,
county tank.
That's one thing with the new system that they have is.
Yeah, you're not.
There is gonna be an option, but it's a per price vehicle that you can put a collar on the fuel tank
Mhm.
and a collar on the nozzle.
Yeah,
And if they don't match, you don't get fuel.
right.
So you can't put gasoline into a diesel engine, you can't put diesel into a gasoline engine, and it would only be in county authorized vehicles. You have to go through that process to get it. And that's a new portion that you can put into this new system.
But that's per vehicle.
Mhm.
That's a per vehicle price, what those are in down.
I mean,
And
from
they
that
train us
perspective,
how to do it.
they're all going somewhere. So if they could fill up wherever they're going. And when you have sheriff vehicles out, they're out and about. So yeah, you fill up before you come back. Or you have to be a little creative, but if the cost is, and maybe you try it, and if it's something that you look at budget for next year, if it's not, I mean, are we set in stone? Would it be a year maybe to think about that contracting, and if,
We'll still be having to do truck contracting our tanks that are below ground and inspections on those. No matter what, unless we remove them.
That's true.
So the costs that we're gonna have to, that will be incurring, and those costs are a few $1,000s, but it's a cost that as long as those tanks are in the ground, we're gonna have to keep up on those.
and then it can be the jail in mind. I mean, who's gonna be here? County employee, but your sheriff may not be here in 3 years. 2 years, whatever.
Well, check out on a bid, just see what it does, I mean,
Now,
you
we're checking in.
that many gallons with one supplier, they're more likely gonna wanna work with you too, so.
Didn't we just do some upgrading on the underground tanks too and things,
It's
something?
been a while, but we did.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Those tanks are probably gonna have a life expectancy of them too. I don't know where we're at with them when they were done. But if we were to replace those tanks, replacing one of these smaller ones, if I were to replace the ones we have, I'd rather go to a 10,000 gallon tank. So we can actually put an entire tank in and we don't have to pay split fees between them. We can play more of a game on our fuel for purchasing some things as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You ever pay ahead? I know there's savings when you watch that market, and I know it's a game, but you talk to a lot of guys and they pay ahead and that's where they really save. And I don't know if we've done it as a county, but.
County hasn't really done it. There's the limitations of the people that are actually getting fuel for us and getting to do more and more.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that want to actually put in the bids for them. And our winter fuel, we bid it out to multiple people and only got one response for them. So. But that one, I also have 2 motivators that are due for replacement, and those bids final, or that bids paperwork specs put up and get finalized out on that one. Self-door here, the ADA closure is gone, so we're gonna have to replace that. We don't have any choices on that matter. That bill will be $3,000 to $5,000 from the estimates that we're getting so far. But that one just is something that we're gonna have to do. We don't have a choice on it. And then there's still the fun discussion on this building with the boiler and what we want to do with that. Johnson Controls is asking if we have any thoughts on that yet. And I told them, no, not at the moment. We're still.
Hear anything back from customer?
Nothing yet on the parts that we're still waiting for the boiler parts that are coming. We're still waiting on there's some more steam traps that need to be replaced. The big ones that we need to reorder.
And that would address that sewer smell, is that the plan, or?
That doesn't address the sewer, that only addresses the air conditioning and the heating for this building.
Is there a plan for that sewer come this summer? And to do anything with that?
As of right now, no. There's nothing in our budget for taking care of it. We could put it into a bigger one, but I don't even know exactly where that sewer gas is coming from. We get the sewer gas smells on the 3rd floor, we get them on the 2nd floor, or the 2nd floor, the 1st floor, the basement. We get them basically throughout the building. So we just keep going around and putting stuff in traps and the smell goes down, but it's reoccurring, it just keeps coming back. Especially in the winter months when we're running the heat. Well, we have those things, the last thing I had was.
Can we hang on?
Yeah,
I was asked if we have, and I don't know if this is even a good idea, but I was asked if we check into doing electric heat.
when Johnson Controls took a look at things, they look at the electric heat, they take a look at the natural gas, they take a look at everything. I don't feel like by changing everything to electric, you're gonna actually save any money. You go to that, you're gonna be rewiring the entire building. Because the wiring that we have in here right now can't handle what we have. Honestly, there's people have put in a floor heater, just a little room heater, space heaters, some space heaters. We're blowing breakers all winter long with that. And there's so much of the building that is this old wiring. It's kind of like the old houses that people have. You have 5 breakers that do everything in your house. If we go and do that, we're gonna have to do some rewiring. And the rewiring, I feel is gonna be extremely expensive. So Johnson Controls, when they take a look, they look at everything.
So they don't just look at replacing the boiler, they look at the
They
big
look
picture.
at the whole picture, they're trying to
Okay.
figure out what the costs are.
Not only that, too expensive, we hire electricians.
Oh, the electrical.
And recoverable
expense, I
heat.
thought, yeah.
We'll have another bid on that offer.
That's just their estimate, so that's what their estimate for the cost would be when they finish the designs, then we'd actually go into a full bid and see what the actual bids would be. That's just their estimates at this point in time. We could get somebody else to go and do them, but then we're gonna have to put it up for an RFP for engineers and architects to come in and take a look at it, and we'll have to pay the architects and engineers to go and do a design that so far has been for free. For initial concepts, so they can go from here and move on, but get the designs.
Well. Keep us posted.
But. And then in April, it didn't work with our meetings moving around for the water board and things to do a park board meeting. So I was just wondering if after the next commissioners meeting in the afternoon of the 18th, it would work to go out to the park. To Hummy to have the park board meeting.
60?
Yeah, it'd be the 16th.
Should we just set it up after dinner like we usually do?
Yeah, we just set up after dinner, 1 o'clock or 1:30
Yeah.
out there. And have it out at the park so you can see what's going on, and things that Susan's got planned.
So 1 or 1:30?
We were working with commissioners.
One, I think we've always had it.
Yeah.
And where at Hommy, is there a,
We'll be at the shop.
Right, the building there. Is there she got all her health covered for the summer or anything?
As far as I know, she's okay.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. I'm gonna go send as many people there like I did last year, so. I'm not having staff myself. I don't know, last year we didn't get the final applications until this last couple of weeks, so I'm still hoping. So I'd like to, looking for 2 more,
for summer help?
don't know.
Have you gone to the school? Like, where's that, high school?
When they have their job fair, I'm never here, so, but it's in the paper, there's kids that are out talking to each other. The biggest problem that we have is you have to be 18,
Yeah, so it'd be seniors.
you have to be seniors. Cause you're out on the roads with the equipment and that stuff, so you have to be 18.
You know, right over, that's how he started, so.
Oh, really?
So that's that stuff, for update on the jail meeting, and Denny and Rana, I met with another architecture firm, brought in touch, Paul Laney, the former Cass County Sheriff, got in touch with Rana and set that up. And that conversation was really good conversations of techniques that they use. They haven't built any jails in North Dakota, but they have built them across the country. That built jails, they get them all federal jails, federal prisons, other county jails and things that they've gone through. They have a little different standards, what they go through for the designs for elevated rooms. They can see into pieces, and they've invited us to try and get people to go and look at some of the jails that they have, or they've done, just for other options and different things for their concepts. But it was very good discussions, conversations, kind of opened up my eyes to a couple of different things that, didn't see around here that they have that are tested and true through multiple sheriffs rebuilding and redesigning and doing different things they have. Between them and the federal government. We also talked about different concepts with federal contracts on rooms and those type of things, where sometimes the federal government will take in money for those beds and have them available. Talked about different heating processes and different things they've looked at, or they looked at geothermals, or they look at everything. They seem to find that most of the stuff is more the conventional, the natural gas and electric combinations are still more feasible than the.
They were up and looked at our facility also. So.
Yeah, they came up and met with Ron and walked through our facility, and they are really impressed with how clean it is, but they know why we're in the process that we are, and said that they're surprised we're still open, honestly, so.
They're aware of the DOC regulations and everything else.
Yeah.
they have a whole division that just only does justice and things. What they're finding is that they're actually bringing in more of some of their education people to take a look at things with. And your health department people for looking at designs, so it's more of a whole unit thing. We have to be an education. That's what with prisoners and with the health concerns that you have and the different components with that, so
Elevate us.
elevate us.
You can Google them and, yeah, they've got a very impressive website.
Can you spell that?
Elevate us.
Yeah.
Oh, they,
So was the point for them, I mean, are they buying for? Because we've signed with Samuel's Group, correct? So this was more,
It's just a study.
Okay.
Architects.
This is like,
Yeah, so they'll be able to use that information. When ahead with. Their proposal, the way I understood it.
yeah. Yeah, the proposal that we have that we're working with Samuel's Group with any architect will be able to employ that is just them making sure that they letting us know that they exist and their experiences and the background that they have in jails and prisons.
Sounds like they work with the Samuel Group on projects, so it's,
Be nice to have two architects and a
Absolutely.
little bit of competition, you bet.
100%. With plenty of experience between Scott and Elevatus is. Yeah, you're looking at over 30+ years just with the architects we've met with. So, and that's not including their staff. They're Elevatus, they have a guy in charge of their specs that they do in their specifications for 40 years and currently have a camera they set up on a job site and saw the blue border, the insulation that they were bringing into the site, and he called the site and said, take that stuff back out because you're not the spec. And so he was just watching it on the camera and said, get that out of here.
they're currently building one in Deadwood.
Yeah. And that's where he caught it.
Mr. Chairman, where are they based out of?
They are in Indiana.
I mean, I have
Not
the
Indiana.
site here,
Was it Indiana?
Indiana,
I thought it said Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana.
I just looked at their site last night yesterday.
but Elevatus, Elevatus.
Yes.
Architecture.
Maybe we should go to Deadwood and look at that one.
Under construction.
field trip.
You could monitor that on.
If I have with that, unless anyone has any questions, I'm gone over my time as usual.
Roads, I see you out blading them and I guess a couple that I've driven on, I'm impressed they're in as good a shape as they are this quick.
They are.
We're hoping that the next couple that we can drive a little bit more and we'll get that tractor out there with the reclaimer. We're not gonna be able to recover as much as we'd like in the bottom of the ditch, but we're also looking at having it to go out to 9, 16, 8. A few other places with the excavator and try and retrieve some of our gravel up.
And I wish that you'd relay back to the guys that they're, sometimes they get chewed out all the time or anything else. Doing a good job, keep it up. I mean, we gotta say thank you once in a while. Like I said, I've driven on quite a few last week and I was surprised you got there that quick after the rain and everything else, so. And I know it's a timely process, but tell them thank you. They're doing a good job.
I got a couple calls on 12B. It's like, and I was on there, for that, it was like, oh, God. Considering the traffic that comes between Fordville and Park River, we gotta do a better job of it. It was 4-wheel drive pickup only.
That's part of the base one.
So I have a request on 2012B. When they did those curves years ago, and I know you weren't around then, but years ago, they did something to the curves and they said. What I was told was that if that held up, they were gonna do the rest of County 12B with it. Could you check into that and find out what occurred? I've been asked about that several times, like. Thought that's what was gonna happen with County 12B.
On the pavement on the south side.
Yeah.
Pictures.
So whatever they did on those curves, it was some new thing they tried. is
If
what
it
my
had to
understanding.
do with the base and everything, if I remember when we tore it, I don't remember exact, but it was a new. Like, the talking products, all the stuff, it was more into the base of it and everything, so it held up.
And it's held up really well.
I know that they've done the base one on all that gravel from there to the north, and the only time you can blade it is when it's suit. And then you have to pack it down and do different things.
That east-west section between the curves there, that's always the worst part. Yeah,
That
I
one,
think I called you on that day
Yeah.
I was on there, and
and that one, they've done different work on that for the frost boils and the different things to try and relieve that and.
I think we need to get 12B on a list for more extensive work than
What we're doing.
what we're doing. We found that what they tried just recently, or when Sharon was here, and this new thing they tried, it's not working.
No.
It's just not working when you got a road that's soup. That's just not working. So I think we need to get it on our list of roads.
I mean, can you bury that stuff?
I mean, yeah, we can bury it with gravel and they'll basically use it as a subgrade and then. But you're looking at, that road is so wide, you're looking at a lot of gravel to bury it with it. Part of what they were doing, that was supposed to help with stabilizing it and turning it into like a concrete, but. It has its other side effects that. Here, for some reason, it's not working the same as it does out in Dickinson. In Dickinson, they dug it up and moved it up to the same spot with that base one, they've moved it 3 different times. And have had a lot better success than what we have here. Whether it's the soils or differences or what, the gravel used, I don't know what the differences were between them. But
Well, something to look at, or the guys that are running out of the Park River shop, they can look at it, you just gotta get thinking on that, because that's a problem.
yeah,
We got 2 elephants in the county, number 2 and number 12B.
Mhm.
And it is what it is. We gotta get them. 2, I don't know if we'll ever fix, but 12B, we should try something.
I think we have to 12B. We've got, the pools are co-op, portable and Park River, and you've got children that are driving that road, and I think we need to look at that road seriously and do a permanent fix.
one of the permanent fixes would be asphalt, and then we're looking at.
Well,
It's just. it-
but what about what's done on those curves? What was it that was done on those curves? Let's take a look at that, because they said if that worked. What I was told by some of the old timers up there was that they were told if that worked, that's what they were gonna do with the rest of 12B, but nobody seems to know what that was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
don't
that was
know
the
that it
price.
was,
I think it was the price.
At
It
the
seems
time,
to
if
be-
I remember and everything else, the
Yeah.
price was so huge that
It
we
was-
just decided to, because that was the problem earlier, we decided to fix it.
On something like that,
It was
it was,
washboard on those curves.
Yeah, exactly, and then it's on safe and
yep,
slanting or whatever trucks and everything going this way,
yeah, it's nice when you can drive on that and then.
And I
it's
know-
nice, but it's almost dangerous too, because people get their speed up and then. boom.
Oh, yeah.
You're almost, and I don't know how long of a section it is, maybe pick at it and get the worst ones first, but to me. I don't know if we could afford that project, because if I remember right, it was expensive, but maybe you're looking at something like the Forest River Road 6. Redoing it, shaping it,
We just spent how much money on that?
That's what they.
no, but I mean, doing that on 12. That's without, besides paving, what do you do? And there's no way we can afford to pave it.
But I didn't think those curves were, it was just solid pavement. I thought it was something different than what I was.
They tore that apart. It was a big project when I remember. It was not only just the top, it's the base and everything. They did it. I guess you can
Well, we
look
must
back in
have
the past.
documents on it.
Yeah.
I think you're right, but.
Yeah, it was spendy. I remember that. Of course, back then, everything, anything that went up, we thought was spendy.
Yeah,
Maybe it is, it was bad, so
yeah,
I'd take a look at it, Jason.
And
in
then
your
the
file.
west that you're talking about, that's frost boils. And they've done projects with that with KLJ to try and relieve the moisture out of there. Well,
Didn't we drain tile some of that? Yeah,
Well, the only way that I know to fix that is to rip it all out into the base and start out with real clay and start over. And that's gonna be expensive. And they're not as cheap anymore, with
Yeah.
roads, but
Well, something to be thinking about, well, let's move on.
yeah. That's all I got for you.
Unfinished business,
Thanks, Jason.
before you leave, when you gonna do your letter?
Well, we're coming this week at some point.
Call me when you do it. If I'm around, I'll come in.
Yeah.
let's move to that Walsh world. You've been sitting here for, if you wanna, we'll move to you next.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Brian Riley. I work for Walsh River Water District. We got several projects going on across the county, but I have one we're going for some rural development funds. And this is just a stepping stone of many steps to try to get that money from them, but we need a permission from the county that shows that you're not in conflict with our project. It's pretty simple. Pembina County already signed off on it.
Do you have a proposal we need to sign or?
Oh, that was signed.
Yeah.
Good. I don't see any problem with it,
Yeah.
I mean. Development.
I'll make a motion, we sign it and letter of support.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Now we'll call for the vote, Karen,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes,
Ernst,
Yes,
myself, yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you.
thank you for your time.
We should have bumped you up on this.
For your
A
patience.
lot of interesting stuff. A lot of people.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ron just lives in Hoople, so, you know, he's in our county. Likes to hear what's going on.
that an update.
Yep.
Interim auditor,
So we were, it was brought to my attention that now that Chris retired on Friday, nobody can find like our deeds and different documents until we officially appoint an interim auditor. Even though we've asked Sandra to step up and do the job, we need to officially appoint her, so. I guess,
I'll make a motion to officially appoint Sandra as interim auditor.
and I will second it.
any further discussion? No, we'll call for the vote, Karen,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Christie,
Yeah,
myself, yes, Ernie.
What did he say?
He threw a look, yes.
and I just like to thank Sandra for stepping up and
Yeah.
taking on these
Thank you.
additional duties, we appreciate it.
Mhm.
And you keep us posted.
Yeah, we'll speak up if you need some help,
Yep. Thank you.
anything but IT, we need.
We'll find who you need if we.
I think we need to talk to David. I mean,
Both
talk
of
to
them.
David to see if he can help us out some, sounds like he might have some background.
Yeah,
And maybe even for like next meeting too, if you feel like, you know, kind of maybe try to set it, and if you need Alan, you know, just even to work through. I still feel like you were pretty much, it was just that audio that messed us up, but otherwise
Like you
you were
said,
calm, you know.
Yeah.
Get an update with that computer or something.
Yeah.
Here, that change computers or something, but
And I know Chris was working on the campus-wide computer list before still left,
Yeah.
and I know this laptop is it's on the list to be upgraded this year.
That might make.
I was gonna say, yes.
Okay, let's move on to additions, JDA update.
I say put it in 15 minutes before too.
Yes, so, well, first off, I just wanna say, most of our JDA board went to Lynn's Tex-Mex last Thursday, the new restaurant in Park River, and it is phenomenal. So I would encourage you, I know I saw last night, they sold out.
We sold out.
So extremely authentic, very well done. They painted in there, the building looks great, they're just doing a really good job. So I am very impressed with a new restaurant, and happy for Park River in our county just to have something like that. So I wish them, I hope that they continue to do well. Julie Gemmel, I just asked her, I kind of knew this, but regarding the new JDA position, they are interviewing 2 people on Wednesday evening. They interviewed 3 people in their first round, but are finding it's quite difficult to find qualified candidates. So that's kind of an update on JDA.
Are any of you two on the interview? You are?
Oh, no, not on the interview committee.
Okay.
It's Julie and I think of the other, yeah,
Well, that doesn't matter. I was just wondering. if you
Right,
guys-
and
Greg Young, yeah, and Fulverson.
Kyle?
Yes, so. And we have Mary Hodek on that board, and she's quite in depth with the job about, you know, so they're working, but I think it's similar to our auditor, it's finding the right person. So, that's all I got.
Anything else? You kind of had yours covered, didn't you? I mean,
Yeah, just like I said, make sure we get the wish list in that highway department book. We look at it next month, instead of keep pushing it down the road.
anything in particular with the highway department you want to?
Not really, but just if anybody has any questions or something, you know, we got it so quick and never had a chance to look at it, so. I mean, you found the one number between the two real quick, so I guess we should talk about it a little bit, I'm thinking.
Has Bill Jasper indicated anything, retirement?
I hope not,
Yeah.
nothing. I have a couple of people that could at any point in time, but I haven't heard any actual comments from any staff or signing things.
Okay,
Remember, you got a couple lists to get to us. So,
Trying to get going.
yeah,
as far as lawn mowing and stuff, that's Mickey's job, right? Or are we contracting that?
Contracted.
We're contracting over here, she doesn't have to worry about that. We were gonna talk about somebody else coming in, taking part of the cleaning.
Well, and I mean, I guess that was one of my questions too, from a follow-up, does Mickey, is there a concern as far as her role versus that? You know, my thought is could she make, if there's certain things she does and wants to continue to do, are there other things that would make sense to outsource, especially with Park River? Because I know Katie has been very supportive of something like that with the need they have, that's not daily.
I think it's gonna go back to finding who wants to do it again.
Well, there's more to this. Being you brought it, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but
I was gonna say, something's on the agenda, can we just like?
so
Well, maybe we should just leave it for next time, or what?
we can.
Yeah,
It wasn't on the agenda.
So, but in case I brought this.
I don't want to just like out.
Must have been out, I guess. you did.
Sure is.
So this is a document that you found. And I wasn't aware of that basically states that according to an old agreement, the county is not responsible for doing any maintenance of cleaning things of the tape building. So that's something that we gotta need to address between the zones and them, where this document says that they're in charge of it. This document's been done in 2014, I think that's what the date was in it. So if that's the case, we're doing a lot of cleaning and supplies with the things that
We're not responsible.
we're not responsible for. So it's something that I need to take over and dig into more.
So, but, well, I guess we better talk about it next.
Yeah.
meeting.
Need to contact.
We should see, yeah, just so there's not something that supersedes it, but yeah, right here it says it's their responsibility.
All right, we'll have.
That's it for you, why?
And then you have the proposal from that contractor, or you would, or that contracting cleaning,
I've got to put in proposal from, he's never
given you one.
no, he talks about work for us, and he doesn't bid projects for us.
Well, because he didn't need one for my company.
Didn't you sent out a whatever RFP for the cleaning, right?
This, did not seem like a be proceeding, get a badge out there for that stuff, or go to board, quality and different things. He comes in and talks with about it, but he never bid it. So,
Anything else?
I think you heard enough. This.
Nothing else to be brought forward to the commission? If not, we'll adjourn. Karen, did you get up with water in your basement or anything?
No.
Jason, do you remember which?
I don't
was
think any
that-
of the-
that $4,000?
I don't think I ever. I think it was just such a weird year last year with it being dry. And then the fall got a little wet, and then it was all there, and then the water, not a drop.
Nice article in the paper, by the way, thank you.
Not a drop, but
I just wanted to see if she
it
corrected it.
could come over again. It's
What I was
There's not much that it fix, but it's like this and.
So when
I would just.
when you talk about me, you know, we're talking about society, it's about me. Yeah, so this week, I just mentioned a couple farmers. We've got talking, they saw the ad in the paper about don't use the pumps.
Right.
And they started on me and I said, hey, I'm, company commission don't have anything, that's a water board issue. And the one guy turned around and looked at it, and forgot how he said, we don't pay attention, he says, we probably got 15 pumps running already.
No, I missed
And
it.
I go to look sideways, I said, a little bit, and I said, and I got, and that's the neighborhood thing to do. He didn't say anything, I heard. Yeah, look,
I mean, that's.
it's all about being a neighbor and taking care of somebody. Then you're in the drag, and I'm going.
Well, somebody tried to tell me breakfast in Mitchell. They said that they.
Yeah, so now this is gonna start new finance.
Western County Road 8. And it's like, oh, I think, I'll be
It's gonna be like the last meeting.
Yeah.
This is her.
That's right, that's hers.
You show positive,
Right.
and now she shows
We
positive.
should-
They tried that. But then I went through and
Yeah,
then
and I mean,
and I still have other.
That was a good article.
I still need some.
So I don't know. I
I think-
started looking at what her role was at the end of her.
So Ern, are you saying that John, the boys need to come into a meeting
I think they're on the phone next week.
So I don't know.
at Waterford?
Yeah, because they asked last when I was down there and they said, "Center Farms will be in there."
Bothers me.
Oh, God, he told me.
Everyone should be.
Well, I think some of it
You know,
stems back
so like,
to,
I don't know.
because they're scared of
That
it,
scares
so they're just avoiding it.
yeah.
Billy.
me too, That's.
The township ran. I think that's what-
Oh,
so They in there, some bitch and actually go back and forth to the White Cross.
They've never had water. issues.
He wanted, when Vincent did that ditch, that drain tile, and then they didn't stop, they were supposed to go all the way.
They were scared.
Well, and Mike called me and he said, can we go across the road and put it in our ditch? And I said, Mike, I think they'd say no. But I said, there's enough water in there. Finish the damn thing. That year they did it. And I just put Mike, I said, no, I said, we run a little bit, I'm saying something and then stop me. I said, get them to finish it what they said.
Contact.
And look what happened, we got finished.
Didn't Manchester
Works
need
great.
to be
And I'm
done?
saying, these guys always make that promise.
Right,
Well, especially God. He don't
But
give a
still,
shit. He'll show hard.
It's all just for him.
They're probably gonna watch the time. Last year, those people that had it, so Saturday, but it's a 30 elevator. And I would make 36 inch. No.
I just.
So he wants to pull that whole
I don't get
farm
that.
sit down.
Why?
And why it's
And why?
covered in the house for him.
Like this highway district.
Well,